Welcome to Radical Underdogs, and apologies, it's been a while since I've posted. It has been a busy time in the Radical Underdogs household. We are at Snetterton in position 9. Not bad, and there are some issues. You can see at the grid there, I was, not fixing my electrical issues. I've got no rev counter in this race, so I'm going to have to do it by ear, which is particularly difficult at the start because you kind of aim for a rev, but I'm kind of doing it by ear. The red lights are on. That's Kev Bird next to us, and they are out. And it is a great start from Kev. Look at the way he gets traction out on the outside there. We have not got the greatest of starts. Got number 23 behind us. You can see we've got footage here from Matt Crozier in 8:48. That will become particularly relevant later on. No spoiler alert there. I can see that little replay there of the Constantina effect, and I was just caught out a little bit there. Locked both front wheels, didn't go into the back of John Pethick there, so no harm, no foul. All the way around the outside there of John, but not going to stick it all the way around the outside. You can see struggling to get the power down, but managing to keep the position. Also struggling to get it into third gear there. You can see Matt right behind us, all the way around the outside. It's too wide. You can see slightly sideways on the exit of Palmer. You can see that replay as we go down for the first time to Agostini, the hairpin, and lost a bit of time to John up ahead. There is a reason this car is a little bit slower than it was last time, and I will come to that later on in the race when it dies down a little bit, but it's not died down at all at the moment. Oh, you can see that was, if you rewind to that was a piece of metal which could come off a car in front and smashed into the windscreen. That is one of the reasons why you have your visors down, ladies and gentlemen, during a race, because that could easily have come into the cockpit and, into the helmet. That could have been a very nasty eye injury if it had gone through, but it didn't. Anyway, it hit the windscreen and we are all okay. Going down onto one of the longest straights in UK Club Motorsport, the Bentley Straight, and that's Matt Crozier behind us. We are not really catching in the slipstream, and as I say, I'll come to the reason why in a second, but we have not really caught in the slipstream down the Bentley Straight, just slowing it down for Brundle and Nelson. An excellent couple of corners. If you ever want to do a track day at Snetterton, it is a difficult one to get right, and through Bombhole, as we go round again, the tricky right-hander of Coram, which is also a braking point down into Murray's as well, so it is a tricky corner to get right. I see the cars basically line astern as they go through Murray's for the first time. We're not doing a bad job here of keeping up with the lead group. I think they're probably a couple of positions down, so I have been in the top 10 a lot this year, which is a great improvement on previous years. You can see behind us, Matt's lost a little bit of ground, and I'm on different tyres at the moment as well. There's a tyre chat needed in one of these videos when the race dies down, but at the moment it is still full on as we go into lap 2 down into Montreal for the second time. Slightly defensive up ahead, but I think not really necessary. We weren't necessarily going to throw it down the inside there. That was certainly not on the cards at that point. And as you see, we're not picking up a great exit out of Montreal there as we go through Palmer again. You can see I've got the straps on again, the kind of arm saver straps, arm restraints. Still not entirely comfortable with them, not got a great position for them. Thank you for everyone who commented last time out at Brands Hatch. I have moved them since then above the elbow. I think there's some debate online, but I think it's, all the instructions say above the elbow, so I've moved them above the elbow now. Look, I suppose it's more comfortable, but I don't know. The car's fighting up ahead though. There's side by side, there's contact as we go down into the last corner before the main straight. That's Williams. No, both cars continue, but I'm pretty sure there was contact there. I think that might be Bo Parry up ahead, but in that grey car, but struggle to see the numbers at the moment. But you can see they are fighting as they go back down the Bentley Straight. If you're the car behind and you haven't got a slipstream yourself, you are a bit of a sitting duck in the MX-5. It is a bit like a flying brick. I know that the speeds aren't particularly high, but you do end up struggling to stay ahead if you are the car in front. You see Matt Crozier has managed to catch up a bit. You can see behind us he is catching and staying with this group, which I think stretches all the way up to sort of 4th or 5th, I suppose. So we're around the 10th position mark here, and you can see up ahead, you can actually see the lead of the race. So still an encouraging start to the season, because I've been racing 4 or 5 years, and it's definitely been the best start to the season I've ever had. Top 5s already this year, which is unknown for me. That was the first time I've had a top 5. Was this year. I had barely had any top 10s. You saw over the winter I rebuilt the engine, but that didn't go particularly smoothly. But it is now rebuilt and it is running. It seems to be all right. No engine failures so far. You'd think if it's going to fail, would have failed already. You can see Matt has now closed up right to the back, and you can see the nice advertising for the YouTube channel on the back of the lovely blue and orange car that we're in right now. You can see that pink car behind us. It is pink in real life. Maybe the colours are a bit saturated. You can see Matt getting sideways on the exit. Let's have a replay of that. Actually, it looks a little less dramatic from on board, but from the outboard it looks a bit more dramatic, didn't it? Going down again into the hairpin at Agostini, and we are losing a bit of traction losing a bit of time, I should say, compared to the cars in front. I think we've got to a point in the race that it is now time for Garage Corner. Let me know what you think of this in the comments, because I'll do more of it if it's successful, because I think whilst the race has settled down a little bit, it's still pretty frenetic in the cockpit. But I think for you watching, let's talk about something else for a little bit. So the reason this car is a little bit slow down the straights, this race in particular, is because I thought, wow, look, we're going to the longest straight of the Club Motorsport calendar, and let's just check the timing, make sure everything's all right. I haven't actually taken this new engine to the dyno yet, so I thought, well, look, let's set it to a 14 degrees advance on the timing and go from there. And I thought, well, whilst I'm there, I'll splash out on a new fancy advanced timing light. And you can see it here. It's one of those fancy ones where you can turn the dial, and it means that you set the timing according to the 0 mark, and you basically twist the knob until it's at the advance that you want it. Now, Mazdas and Mazda MX-5s and these generation, this is the Mark 1 or the Miata NA. It might be the case for others as well, I don't know. But they have what's called a wasted spark ignition system, which means that the ignition system fires both on the compression stroke and the exhaust stroke. So it's kind of like a bit like a 2-stroke, so it fires at every single stroke, whereas obviously in most 4-stroke cars it doesn't fire on that. So when you set your fancy but not quite so fancy timing light, it will read double. So if you set it to 0 and you use the timing marks like I'm showing here, if you use the timing marks and you have a bog standard timing light, none of this matters, right? So this doesn't really apply to you, so just carry on doing what you're doing. But if you've got an advanced timing light and you're setting it to the 0 number and then you're twisting the dial so that you get the number that you want, the Mazda is firing twice as much as a normal car. So if you've got a really fancy timing light and it has a wasted spark setting, or it's got a 2-stroke setting, because it's basically the same, then if you set it to that, again, you'll be all right. But if you've, like me, thought, I'll get a fancy timing light, it means you end up, if you set it to, I was trying to set it to 14, if you set it to 14, it'll actually be set to 7. so that is exactly what I was, when I tested this at home and I got the number up and it was like 28 or 28, 29 degrees. I was like, Jesus, that must be damaging the engine. But of course, it was set on the dyno previously, and I just kind of aligned the marks up again when I rebuilt the engine. But that was about right. And what I've done is I've basically given myself some nice fuel economy and maybe a bit more low down power, but there's absolutely no low down. You can see the rev range. Well, you can't see the rev range because the rev counter is broken. That is a different story. Maybe that is time for Garage Corner in race 2. I can talk a little bit about that. But in this race, you've got the timing set to, I think, basically 7 or 8 degrees. Not like the end of the world, and actually it's amazing that I'm quite as strong as I am, so maybe the timing doesn't matter quite so much, but it's certainly the wrong racetrack to have your timing set to be a bit conservative, because this is, as I say, the longest straight on the Club Motorsport calendar and the longest straight for our calendar this year, and yeah, got the timing set wrong. But that is the reason why I have learned something about wasted spark ignition systems, or I forget it's called something else as well. But hopefully you now, if you own a Miata or if you've got an NA MX-5, don't have to make the same mistake. As I say, if you use those timing marks on the thing, don't worry about it. If you use a cheapo light, again, don't need to change what you're doing. But if you've got one of these guns, you do need to know, and I wish I'd known before this race. I do now, so it is back to where it was. Not for race 2, unfortunately, but for the next round at Donington Park. Anyway, let me know what you think of this little interlude in the racing, talking about some of the more technical or kind of mechanic-y parts of racing. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll obviously see how this works in the analytics, but because it's really what you guys want to watch, which is the important thing here. And back to the racing, and you can see actually it's been pretty stable so far. So despite all that chat about engines and being a bit slow and racing driver excuses, actually not too bad. You can see the tyres are starting to go off though. I'm pretty much missing every single apex now. You can see really, really wide. You can hear what I think of that. So not happy with, well, I think it is the tyres going off. So when you're driving it, it doesn't, because it's so gradual, or at least it feels gradual to me, it doesn't, you think you're making a mistake, but actually I'm pretty sure these tyres are going off. You can see Matt behind us driving with one hand. He's just having a good time on a Saturday afternoon. He's driving down Bentley Straight. He is going to be catching us, because I think with these tyres, I've got a slightly different shave to these tyres, and I think that the temperature, they heat up quicker, and I think they're basically overheated now. I'm basically cooking these tyres. They are new for this weekend as well, and I didn't really get any time to test them, so I didn't really bring these in. I'm just not testing at the moment. This testing price, I'm going to moan about testing prices, but testing prices are pretty much more than racing at the moment. So it's just not really economical to do testing, especially if you're a privateer and on your own like me. The sessions don't really work for me. The open pit lane, you can kind of go out, try a few things and come back in, change something, go back out. If you've got a half an hour session, especially when you're on your own, it takes me sort of 5 minutes to get in and out of the car. So, if you go out and then back in again, well, you're wasting a huge amount of time, and if it's £400 for the day, that's a lot of time. You just feel the clock ticking down, so you sort of feel obliged to go out for the full half an hour session. But it's enough moaning about testing prices. You can see I'm a bit of no man's land here, just trying to coax the car into the corner. You can see we saw with Matt's car, he's a bit looser at the back, and maybe it's a setup change, because it's always interesting when you see the onboard footage from other drivers, because you can see with the tyres slightly overheating, it's understeer more than anything actually. When you first saw me racing, I was getting this horrible snap oversteer, and so I've probably over the years dialed my setup into something a bit more understeery really, and that's not the fastest way around the track with these cars. So it might be worth, you can see wide again, out of the track there. I'm getting close for track limits. There are multiple sensors around this circuit where if you go over them, you start getting track limit penalties. There's one on the exit there. We didn't run over it this time, but there are multiple track limit sensors, and it's very, very easy to rack those track limit penalties up, and where you get a black and white flag as sort of a yellow card equivalent in racing, and after that you start getting time taken off your race. So after that black and white flag you get a 5-second penalty. So you could easily rack up a couple of track limits in a single lap here, because there are multiple sensors. There's one on the exit there. there's definitely one on the exit of Murray's coming. You can see Matt really pushing hard. You can see it's always easier to chase. Look at this. He's absolutely pushing really hard. He's breaking down into Murray's. Really, whereas meanwhile in the sort of Chillmobile up here, less incentive to push. You can see John Pethick has gone. Talking about track limits, there you see the black and white flag for car 264. That is us. So no more track limit penalties. Otherwise, it's a 5-second penalty. And there's dust across the track. You can't see anything. I've slowed down. Matt has gone past. Was it worth risking it? You see it from Matt's perspective as Matt comes round the corner. You just can't see anything. Matt keeps his foot in, and because I lifted, I might have even tapped the brakes, you know. Let's have another replay from my perspective. Coming around the corner, absolutely cannot see past this cloud of dust. I've lifted, and that's enough to let Matt through. I'm not happy with my lack of bravery. Although, is it really worth it for, you know, I think we're 11th position in the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Clubman Championship. It's just not worth it for that at Snetterton Race 1. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, you know, fighting for the Formula 1 World Championship here. But anyway, I definitely want to get this position back. We're side by side with Matt Crozier as we go down into Agostini. This is the last lap of the race. You heard the alarm blaring in Matt's car. That is just a kitchen timer. And that tells you that the race is basically over. This is the last lap of the race. I don't have a kitchen timer, but I think there's a last lap board. Anyway, it must feel like the last lap. So I'm absolutely pushing to get this place back. You can see Matt is kind of defensive. He's looking at his mirrors. We're not in a position to go here, but actually down the Bentley Straight is when, if you get a really good exit out of Williams, and I absolutely cannot use all the racetrack, well, all the beyond the track. You can see Matt has taken his opportunity and he has used all the track and more. He's gone over the sensor. He didn't have a black and white flag, so he is not going to get the penalty. An excellent bit of racecraft, I suppose. I was not able, he would have seen the black and white as well for me, so I absolutely could not have run out that wide. I'd have got the 5-second penalty. So down the straight, not long enough to catch up with Matt as we go down in the last couple of corners. There's not many. I've nailed the Brundle-Nelson complex. So we've actually got a good run as we go up to bomb hole, flat through there. Got to keep it flat. Is the only chance. There's one more corner left. If you can get down the inside of the last corner, it is possible to get this position back. We're close to the top 10, but not quite there. You can see catching, but not quite enough. And just showing in those, and Matt only has to make a mistake for us to get that position. And actually, no, Matt absolutely nails that corner. Excellent defensive drive on that lap. Actually, we haven't had a very good exit at all. And behind us, Matt Flowers is going to catch us. He's going to be side by side as we cross the line and that is the checkered flag. That was a pretty close 0.083 setting, 83 hundredths of a second, with Matt Flowers behind us, seeing what was unfolding there and just trying to get ahead. You can hear my impression of the race. Wasn't massively happy with lifting. I don't know, what would you have done? I guess keep your fit. Well, this shows I'm probably not going to be I'm in my late 30s. I'm not going to be a race driver as my full-time career, and I think probably that also shows that, you know, I have a little bit of more self-preservation than maybe your typical racing car driver. So, high fives at the end, still smiles. But thank you very much for watching. Catch you again in the next one.